Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. Spring is getting a little closer. The greenhouse is certainly brightening up as the days stretch out a little bit. When the sun shines, it gets really warm in here, and things are starting to come to life. As you can see, it is begonia time. They were looking so nice that I'd bring down a few of our rhizomatous begonias, have a quick look at them. Rhizomatous begonias are probably the easiest group to grow. In that group of the rhizomatous begonias are the Rex begonias, and the Rexes are a little bit more difficult to grow. This is a Rex here. They tend to be the ones with the really colorful foliage. Traditionally, they are a bit of a diva in the begonia world. If you don't give them exactly the right conditions, they'll drop all their leaves. They'll go dormant. They'll get powdery mildew. They can be a real pain, and I have a terrible time growing them. This one is actually just waking up again out of going completely leafless and dormant, and they will do that at this time of the year. They do grow from a rhizome. You can see the rhizomes here in the pot, but they're just one section of rhizomatous begonias. They're the Rex type. Now, there are some new Rexes out there. This is one of them. This is one of the Jurassic series, and there's 2 or 3 series out there now that breeders have been working to make them easier to grow, and they're actually working quite well as summer annuals that you can try to keep over. This is one of the Jurassic series. We did that. These were quite nice through the summer, but you can see that we're still struggling a bit with keeping them looking good through the winter. On the other hand, the rhizomatous types, which are creeping on the same kind of stems as the Rex, but not maybe quite as flashy in their foliage, but are a lot easier to grow. And there are some really outstanding varieties. This is the time they generally bloom. Some will continue through the summer, but generally late winter to early spring is bloom time for the rhizomatous begonias. So we've got Mazae nigricans here, which is just a beautiful one. Through the summer, the leaves are almost black with just a bit of green feathering on the edges, but look at the amount of flowers from that. It's pretty amazing. I have to shove these out of the way a little bit or we can't even see them. Autumn embers with this wonderful orange and autumn colored foliage. Again, just coming into bloom. Wonderful pink flowers. Most begonias of these types tend to have pink flowers, so if you don't like pink, you might want to grow something else.
Do they bloom through the summer?
They bloom through the summer, not really. You might get some sporadic bloom in the summer. And some varieties like Red Fred, one of our bigger ones, it pushes summer bloom out, which is kind of nice. We've got the old beefsteak. Sorry, the plant's kind of grubby. I just pulled it down because it was looking really good. It needs a clean up, but then we're propagating these at this time as well too. So we'll be taking a whole bunch of cuttings off these. I did want to show something, and I don't know if I can show all of it, because it looks like we've got mostly. Begonias are interesting plants because they carry their male and female flowers on the plant but separate, which is really kind of interesting. Now, I'm just seeing if I can find some male flowers at this time, and I don't even see any yet. But a begonia female flower looks like this. It has this neat wing on it. So the flower's here, and then this is the ovary here, the green part. That's where the seed will be produced if it gets pollinated. But right now, you can't just take 2 of these flowers and try to rub them together and pollinate because they're both female. If they have those wings on them, they're female. The male flowers have not appeared yet, so I can't exactly show you any. But we'll talk about it a little more when we look at the tuberous begonias. So I just wanted to share those guys because they are so fantastic. And this one here was what really was catching my eye. This was a new one we got this past summer. This is Begonia Madam Queen. Huge plant, but look at it, just one rhizome, one stem. It's amazing how big the leaves get on some of these begonias and how tall the flower spikes are and how really impressive they are. So that's a cool one. Anyway, all right. Back to everything else. We're going to do a couple of quick reviews. We've got some of our seed germinating we talked about a few weeks ago. I'm going to double check here and see if we've got any of our geranium seedlings out of our paper towel. Gets a little more difficult as the paper towel gets older and starts to sort of rot away a bit, but you can still do it. If you do this with good quality paper towel, don't buy the dollar store stuff. Buy good quality paper towel. It lasts for quite a long time. Then you can peel back. Then we can see that we've got our seeds are still here. They look like they're doing well. Nothing else is germinated. What's interesting is a week ago I checked this and one of our seeds had germinated. So I took it out, transplanted it, and there we go. There's the first geranium seedling out of this method. And this is why the method is so handy. Rather than having 15 pots sitting around hoping they germinate, we've got one pot with our transplanted geranium and then still an easy to store envelope or Ziploc with the seeds in it. So we'll put those back in. We'll continue to keep checking them, and we'll transplant the individuals as they germinate. It's kind of nice to do it this way with, you know, if you've got sort of rare seeds from a seed exchange, or, you know, you splurged and bought, you know, some packets of some kind of rare plants where you might only get 10 seeds or so. This is actually a really good way to do it because you don't lose track of the seeds. It's easy to keep them in Ziplocs. They're right there. They don't take up much room. You can actually hold them up to the light, see if you got a little germination happening, and then transplant as needed. Our first show, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, we started with our garden for the grocery store segment, and we started growing some ginger from grocery store tubers. We did turmeric. The turmeric is pretty much a bust, although it's not dead, but it's not doing anything yet. I'm not real happy. We'll try to get some more turmeric and we'll start again. Yeah, see, they haven't done anything yet, but our gingers have done great. So the next step now with growing these gingers to get a crop of ginger in the fall, we're going to lift one of these rhizomes, and you can see we've got a lot of root on there. But what we're really interested in is not the old rhizome here, but these new young ones. So we're going to take that out. Let me get a knife here. We're going to dig down to see where the rhizome grew. So we've got that easy little division spot there. And we're just going to cut a little bit through to detach it. And then we're going to take our young ginger plants like that, and we're going to pot these up individually. keep them growing indoors until late May when we can transplant them out. So this one here actually is growing exceptionally well. You can see, let me cut it off first. This is doing exactly what we wanted the ginger to do. Our new shoot that grew this year already has 2 buds right here that are going to be new shoots very soon. So I don't know if we've got any life left in this. There's no more buds on it, but you could probably use it for ginger now if you wanted to. So we're just going to take our new shoots here, our new sprouts, get them potted up. I don't know if that one could be. I think we'll leave it all together as one. Well, actually, it is 2 separate ones, so we can tease them apart. And there we go. Now we've got 3. Give them a good watering, a good feeding, put them in a nice bright spot indoors, keeping them relatively warm. Household temperatures are fine. You don't need to be any hotter than that. We had them on a heat mat to get them to sprout, but there we go. There we've got our gingers well on the way to giving us a nice crop of ginger at the end of the season. And then we'll be able to keep it over the winter and have fresh ginger whenever we want. Okay. We are late Feb, almost March. It's time to start thinking about summer flowering bulbs. One of the first ones that we start every year are our tuberous begonias. Very easy to grow, but they do take a little while. So what I've got for my tuberous begonias is I've got these great little terrarium, or not terrariums, but little seedling trays from the Dollarama. They're like, I don't know, 2 for $2.50 or something like that. Pretty reasonable. They work really well. Great little mini starter. Now, these don't have any holes in them, and for what we're going to do right now, that's okay. We're not going to grow them in here for a long time, so it's easy. You don't have to have a drainage tray underneath or anything. We're going to fill these with our compost. We're using our same soilless mixes that we use pretty much for everything. Fill that right in. It's slightly moist already. We don't use it dry. There we go. So we picked up a couple of different tuberous begonias. We picked up a 4-pack of one called Lemon Blossom, which I think might be a little bit of a mix, actually, of a couple of different colors. It's from the Simple Pleasures brand. So we're going to open these up and have a look at them. Packed in this the sawdust keeps them from getting bruised and things more than anything. And here we are. We've got our nice little begonia tubers. A begonia tuber doesn't need to be giant to give you a good show. If you were buying some of the more expensive sort of British Blackmore and Langdons, you would never get a tuber much bigger than this when you buy it, and you'd pay about 20 to 30 pounds for it. So don't feel that these are too small. These are going to give you a great show this year without any trouble. You can see right up close here. You can see they're sort of like a little puck almost, with an indent in the top here. These little indents are last year's stems, and right around here are little buds, and that's what's going to grow for this year. So what we do with our begonia tubers to get them started is we have our soil mix here ready to go, and we simply just press them into the soil mix at this time. So we just take them and we just push them in. We leave the tops uncovered. So it's very simple. Sometimes you will get ones like these ones, which are a little bit more, what the heck is the top? But you can see the old leaf scars from last year. So that's the top. Nothing going on the bottom. So we'll take our 4 there. We'll keep them sort of at this end. They can be fairly close because all they're going to do in this tray is get some shoots started, get some roots started, then we're going to transplant them. So we're leaving them just above the soil. So we got the lemon blossom mix here from Simple Pleasures. Looks like a nice mix of uprights. And then we happened to be at Costco, so we decided to pick up a Costco pack of tuberous begonias as well. So we're going to open it up. I have no idea what we're going to get in here, but in most cases, they all come from the same growers. Now, sometimes what you get when you get these bulk packs from grocery stores and places like that, you often get a lower grade of bulb. You know, usually a smaller size bulb. And when you're looking at growing tulips and things like that and daffodils, you're going to get smaller flowers that first year. Not always as good. But doing the tuberous begonias, let's see what we get out of here. And we've actually got quite lovely large tubers from the Costco pack. Yeah, look at them. They're beautiful tubers. So these would have just come into Costco. So a little warning, you know, these were on a rack with gladiolus, and there was begonias, and there was dahlias, and there was some perennials and things. Time to get the begonias started. Other things not quite time yet. But also, you want to be careful in your box stores and your grocery stores, because shelf life is very important, and the way they keep them is very important. The pack of begonias we got from a garden center was kept in a cool part of the building, keeps the plants dormant, keeps them from sprouting until you're ready to get them going. It just sort of keeps them, just sort of holds them there. These, of course, in Costco were right in the middle of the store, as hot and dry as you can be. So if they spend any time there, the longer they're there, the more they deteriorate. So be careful about timing. If you're getting them right now, these are fantastic begonia tubers. Nothing wrong with them at all. But if they still have them again in a month, they're going to start to be dried out and much less viable. We actually went by, geez, I don't know, I guess it was a dollar store that still had tulips and daffodils on the shelf in March. Useless, basically. Maybe not 100% useless, but 99% useless. So you got to be careful of timing with your box stores and that don't know what they're doing as far as holding plants and things like that. But, like I say, these are fantastic begonia tubers. They look great. They're just simply a mix of a deep pinky red and white. There's 10 bulbs. We assume we'll get 5 of each. Who knows? But we're going to start them, and we'll do them the same way. And we just make sure we look for the indent, and we twist them right into the ground. These are bigger, so they're going to take a little bit more space, but that's okay. Twist them into our soilless mix. Now these can go on the heat table, on our heat mat. Remember, many of the bulbs that we're doing now for summer flowering bulbs are tropical. Oh, there's the 10th one. Oh, I thought we got ripped off there for a second, but there was the 10th one hiding there. So we'll see if we can fit these all in this tray. There we go. So there we go. Now we're going to give this a little bit of water. Trying not to let water sit in the cup of the tuber. That's why we start these level with the soil. When we transplant them in a few weeks, then we'll bury the tubers because this will be all full of shoots. So you won't have that worry about water sitting in that cup. But at this point in time, we do worry about that. So we'll put them in, label them. You can put the humidity tent on if you need to. Some water onto the heat mat so they've got a little bit of bottom heat. That'll help kick them into gear. And then we get them sprouting. We'll come back to them in a few weeks once we've seen the sprouting, and we'll transplant them and then do something with them. So there we go. Have we got any questions coming along today, Laura?
We have a couple of questions.
Sure.
How much does the seed have to germinate before you can plant it?
So out of the Ziploc bags, really as tiny as you want. I found the one thing, the first time I used the Ziploc bag method, I realized that once you see a root coming out of that seed, you transplant it. If you don't, then that seed, that root, gets all entangled through the paper towel and can be a bit hard to get out. So you want to make sure you get them while they're still small. And that's what I did with this one. This one was barely, had about maybe a half an inch of root had come out. I actually did have to cut a little bit of the paper towel out around it and transplant it all. But paper towel's gone now. Seedling's got its first seed leaf, and it's doing really, really well. So that'll be a perennial that we can plant out into the garden later on this spring and get bloom, if not late summer this year, next June for sure. So really economic.
So Jeff, Paula planted a tray of geranium seeds.
Okay.
They've all sprouted now. Any tips on caring for them until they eventually go into her hanging baskets?
Okay, so geranium seeds, you did them at the right time. Geraniums or pelargoniums that you grow from seed for bedding or window boxes or hanging baskets and things should be done in January. It takes them a long time to get to the blooming stage. So starting in January, you're going to have blooming plants by May to be able to put out. Care from now till then, as much light as you can give them. Average temperatures, not too warm. The trick at this time of the year is with most seedlings is, unless they're a really tropical plant, is trying to keep them not too hot, because that will cause stretching and possibly weak growth from the seedlings. So if you've got a really bright windowsill, have a fan circulating the air along that windowsill so they don't get overheated on a sunny day. Fertilize them regularly. Don't let them dry out, and you should have no trouble. But don't forget to feed them, because you want to have good, strong plants to be ready to put out in May. Geraniums are pretty tough, so once we've got some decent weather where the nights are staying above 5 degrees, they can be outside. So keep that in mind, because you're going to want to harden them off for a couple of weeks before you put your your plants in their final spot for the summer. They're going to need to make that transition from indoors to outdoors. So if you've been keeping them in a really sunny window, that transition's a bit easier, because the leaves will be used to really high light situations. So geraniums are full sun plants, so you got to keep that in mind. Do we have any other questions, Laura?
No, Sophie was just saying that she uses a Ziploc method for most of her seeds and starts a lot of seeds that way. And as soon as
fun stuff to look at over the next few weeks as we're getting ready for spring. If you're still thinking about traveling, we do have a couple of spots left on each of our trips, but we are almost full. Go to masonhousegardens.com/garden tours. Have a look. They are 2 great trips if you've got the inkling to do some garden traveling this year. And other than that, thanks for joining. We'll see you next week on Let's Get Growing Facebook Live.